and this meeting would be live on YouTube as requested. We are streaming live on YouTube, and Mr. Ranga, you can share your screen and add a spotlight to the timer. Please concise your presentation in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Gavin, I will not be rating this nomination.
Sure, sir.
I have a conflict of interest with GTS.
Sure, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So the juror let the juror know that Globe Teleservices Tech Labs, this is in conflict with Mr. Bhupesh Teria, and he won't be rating for this solution. But yeah, we open for the we open to see the presentation. You can share your screen, Mr. Ranga.
Hope my screen is visible. I did share.
Sorry. Yes.
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 Okay. Thank you.
You can start.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for giving us this opportunity to present our solution, what we are working on, AIML. So here, I handle the technology division in GTS Tech Labs. I'll cut short my introduction so that I can spend more time on the actual solution. So what we are proposing actually here is fighting the AML, any frauds or any of the problems using a graph DB along with the AML. So normally what happens? Okay, I'll move to the next slide. So our predominantly solution focuses in terms of, rather than using the conventional relational OLTP OLAP databases, how do we use graph database, which is more advanced in terms of helping for the link analysis. So where in all the use cases which predominantly comes over is in terms of the anti-money laundering, IoT, cyber security. All these are the places where these kind of a graph DB will be helpful. And the important, why we choose over there is the AML as a use case, which we are working in a couple of banks and places. The AML will be one of the biggest breaches, which has amounting to close to around $20 billion, which is a re-estimated value. So hence it becomes an important aspect for us to lay our hands on that. Okay, so what actually we are trying to do in terms of our approach. So our exploration or our approach is this. We have currently the human intelligence plus the machine learning, which is working on the OLAP system in terms of finding out the patterns, in terms of finding out the anomalies, in terms of finding out the trends with which you can either predict or cluster all those stuff. So rather than more relying on that, we are exploring using the graph analysis, by which we can do a lot of link analysis, hierarchy association, degree of association to find out the links between those people. That's what we are trying to do, and that's what we are exploring. And that's all about our innovation. So let me get into what exactly or how we are doing it. So I'll give you a couple of use cases which we are working on. For the AML case, currently the RBI or anybody, if we see, they have an early warning system of 43 or 45 different rules. When we plot them using the expert analysis knowledge or expert system, what we call, what we do is we take the data from various sources, plot them, and find the association rules between them. But what it misses on the hindsight is how each are interconnected, if at all, if it is interconnected. Then comes the link analysis. Can we find a link between one transaction, the other spurious transaction, or the person who has done is? So if there is a link which we can establish. To find that, we were using the regular databases and creating entities and association with them and trying to plot it across. Now with the advent of Neo4j and those kind of a graph database, what we have done is, rather than going with the traditional OLAP system base, we have made the entity relationship use of it, and so that we can plot and do analysis at a much faster and more deeper way. So that means my object or entity or the fact becomes the core, and all the dimensions will be coming around, And then I can find out the linkage between those two, which helps the analysis guy to know if the fraud or any other, information is only stuck to the 1 level, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, or 4th degree. That easily plottable. So this is one of the things, and with which what happens is the time spent on identifying those kind of analysis or the linkage will be faster with the GraphDB, because the way we are storing in the GraphDB is faster, which helps the AML to retrieve and do a lot of pattern prediction, link analysis, and clustering. And the second use case we have recently done is in the IoT space for the energy department, where they have a lot of transformers and the energy meters for the both high-end, HT and LT customers spread across multiple places. And once, any weather or any other seasonality issues, if one goes down, they will find it difficult in the remote places or any places to identify what are the different places which they're getting affected. They have a SCADA system, which is again a feed forward mechanism in terms of, which is presented. With our GraphDB way of presenting it, what we have done is we have plotted the topology in such a way that you can easily navigate and find out where exactly the transmission line or where exactly the transformer is getting affected, and what is the impact on the subsequent places. That is helping them. The third use cases which we have done is in terms of the law enforcement agency, where you can draw the perimeter circle. Using a triangulation, we used to find who is entering or who is not entering and all those things.
Mr. Ranga, you have 4 minutes close. 4 minutes
Okay.
close. Please keep a watch on time.
Okay, thank you. So the third use case is prominently in terms of how do we identify any suspect in an area which is very remote or dense. For that, what we have done is, usually in the previous systems, we used to take the location-based, the LBS system data and the CDR data and the IMES data, and we used to combine and use to find out the entity link analysis. With the graph thing in place, we were able to easily navigate to 1st level, 2nd and 3rd degree level. And earlier also we used to do, but not with that efficiency of GraphDB. So we have used Neo4j, with which we are able to reduce the time of retrieval by 14% compared to the earlier, and the accuracy of finding has also increased by 15%. These are the 3 use cases we have recently implemented, and we are working more towards it in terms of enhancing with the accuracy and the way we can actually store in the GraphDB and exploit the possibilities in the GraphDB. So the way we have achieved, as I was mentioning, the 15% plus was the aim in terms of where we were able to achieve in terms of analysis. The accuracy for the information increased by 6% compared to the normal ML model. So that's also because the way it mapped the entity with the fact and dimensions. So the next important thing is what is our architecture. So the architecture predominantly is the way we do the source data collection from all the OLAP system. Then you do the data mapping to the source mapping. Then you draw the ER in a very effective way. Then store it in, instead of OLAP system, store it in such a way in the GraphDB, which can help you not only in the 3 use cases I told, it also can help in the supply chain, it can also help in marketing department, and also it can help in the e-commerce department in terms of the logistic, how it can track. Even now, one of the use cases or things which we are contemplating in terms of identifying the marine movement, cargo marine movement in the Indian Ocean, in terms of how are they being clustered, how we can plot, because there is a new API for the contours drawing which have been released using that, and with the Neo4j we are trying to draw that. So the important aspect of our innovation have been is in terms of exploiting or using the GraphDB to help our ML model to be improved. It's a work which needs to be done because there are a lot of challenges in terms of the way it has been stored, retrieved, and all those things. But we are confident that GraphDB is moving and the new APIs are coming. We will be able to work out with a good use cases in terms of money laundering, fraud, IoT, and various supply chain mechanisms. So this is all about mainly focusing our innovations on that. And So with the 1 minute left, I would probably, show some of the features, which allows in terms of how deep link pattern, it can go. In fact, it can go up to finding out 5 to 6 degrees of, connectivity. If, a spurious transaction has happened in a particular account, it can find out up to 5 or 6 degree with the ease, whether, any linkage has happened to that. So this is predominantly our, innovation where, along with the normal ML, we are bringing in the graph database and using it more effectively, which is an extension of a NoSQL. And predominantly, we are working with Neo4j, which is an open source. So that's our, innovation. Thank you for your time. And yeah, I'm done with my presentation. I will be happy to take the Q&A.
Thank you, Mr. Ranga. You have few seconds left, though we'll start with the Q&A. The IT, please do not turn off. Please, we can start with the Q&A. Let me add a spotlight to Amish as well. Yes.
Can I go first?
Yes, sir, please.
Yes. I think that's a very interesting solution. So my question is, it looks like a good amount of unsupervised methods are being used, right? So one of the challenges in general with these unsupervised methods is the interpretation of what the algorithms throw. Either you take association rule mining or anything, all the deep link analysis and things like that, right? So how do you, because and many of the times we need domain specific interpretations of the results thrown by these unsupervised methods. So how do you deal with that? And is the solution that you have, is it specific to a domain or is it domain? Because you did talk about a couple of use cases on fraud detection and things like that.
Absolutely. I think these are the real challenges we are actually facing. In the 3 use cases we spoke about, one is the AML, anti-money laundering, the energy use case in terms of the IoT, and the third use case in terms of the marine, the cargo shipping. What we are, doing is currently we have a system in place where the expert system where we are identifying based on the rule engines. And on top of that, again, from unsupervised to labeling, annotating, we are moving to the unsupervised to supervised. On top of that, we are bringing in to identify as of now on the innovation stage, if there is any improvement can be done, and then we are doing a cross validation. So at this stage, the challenges still remains and a lot of experimentation and test result have to be carried out. And our aim is to do, for example, with marine, we are trying to do with 3 years or 4 years of data to bring the accuracy to this system. But this is a work in progress. So we are sure, over the period, it will get accurate results.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move forward to the next question. Yes, yes, sir, please.
Yeah. Thank you for presentation of this interesting concept. The questions that I have are related to the performance of the system. What has been your experience with performance of graph-based structures as against the conventional method of storing data? And did you have to use any specific hardware, to speed up the process?
Thank you. So I'll tell you 2 things. One is we started off with a conventional hardware of Gen 10 system with a i7 and 256 GB and with a video graphic card, and our performance was pretty bad. That means without this, if I am able to cluster a particular group of entities, compared to that, for a 6 months of data, it used to take around 2 to 3 hours, more, because any ML model requires an ETL, which also used to take time, and here we used to take a lot of time. Now, there are 2 approaches we are experimenting now: is increase the hardware and test it, then identify the key features such that our entity relationship, the way we store, will increase the accessibility and the ETL time. So we have found a path through of it, and we are still in the experimentation stage. But performance is still an issue, and that's where we are working on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Eppen, you have a question?
Yeah. Ranga, just one quick question. So basically this graph thinking approach, even even your competitors are using it, right?
Yeah.
So how exactly, like, what is the USP which you bring along with it?
Yeah. So, there are two things, one is the graph per se as a knowledge or the theoretical, statistical or a mathematical function do exist. But the way we are taking an approach is doing a lot of use cases and then, improvising the system. Whereas if many of the GraphDB users are restricting themselves to one or two domains, mainly the banking and the e-commerce domain. But we are expanding this into the energy, into the telecom fraud, and also into the marine and lot many other systems, because the more the use cases you do, the more the input, data engineering you do, then only we can actually go back and see how does the GraphDB is scalable across the domain.
Yeah.
And to
so
my knowledge,
I'll
that's
just
where,
add something.
yeah.
Just one thing. So you're primarily relying on open source technologies, am I right? Yeah. Yeah. Fine.
So that's where, we are standing out in terms of, doing more multi-domain where, a lot of data are available, so that, we can actually come up with a final GraphDB model, which can really be helpful for the AML predictions.
Yes. So Ranga, I think this is a good number of products that you have got together, but my question is along the same lines of Dr. Raj. IBM has a product on these lines for the last 10 years. And I was fortunate to be working IBM for 5 years. So I have used their product Identity Insight and their graph system on a lot of use cases for financial crime investigation way back in 2010. I have used it for many other use cases. Then for a bank in Thailand, I had used this for similar solutions for finding out who are the creditworthy customers, for which I have also filed a patent. So the applications that you're talking about, I had worked on similar applications about 10 years back. So I come back to the same point of Dr. Raj, is that these are things that have been there in the research domain. It has been there. So I think from an innovation perspective, so I completely agree there is a business need, and IBM cannot solve the entire world's problem. And there are products from SaaS and other people also, they cannot solve. So there's a very good business aspect there. There's a big market for you to capture. What I am missing out is more on the part of the innovation part. I completely agree. This is a profitable, it will be a good business. There are a lot of clients you will serve. There is a long tail. I completely understand this space, but I think I am just questioning you on the innovation part. What is your value add that others in the ecosystem are not doing?
Thank you. So as you rightly said, IBM, SaaS, everybody, they focus again I2 and other tools. We completely rely on open source. Neo4j is what we are predominantly focusing on, and we are also experimenting with a few of the open source, and also we are trying to integrate this with the open source, the geospatial tools. Either it could be in the open map or all the things. So here our innovation predominantly focuses on building the schema which enhances using the open graph to speed up the things and improve the performance. Because the way you store the entity relation in a GraphDB is critical in terms of getting the output. We can store it in a more detailed way, or concise way, or use a firewall method, or whichever. So that's where our innovations and experiment is going on in terms of getting the quick result with more accurate information. So that's predominantly our innovation, because for that it needs more of a trial and error across the domains to bring back the entity relations. And fortunately, we are working with 4 or 5 diversified domains, and we have the domain expertise people who are helping us. And that's where with the combination of the technologies and the domain in that, we are preparing this entity relation. That will be our key innovation.
Yes, yes. So I can just share one of the personal research that I'm working on myself. Using graph database, I'm trying to work with Bollywood songs and trying to put singers, actors, directors, and I'm using Neo4j and working on it. It's like it's a passion project that I'm working on now for the last 1 year when I get some free time. But yes, I'm using Neo4j. So there are interesting
I'm sure
domains you
it will
can
open up,
use.
again, new challenges, and it will also help, in terms of identifying
Yes.
how a different genre of, data, will be, have to be treated.
Yes. But it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, team GTS Tech Labs. There is a few seconds left. I'm sure there would be no other questions from the jurors. We wish you the best with the results, and we're still live. We move forward with the next session now. Thank you, the team, for presenting the innovation.
Right,
could
so thank
stay
you,
back.
everyone. I'm looking forward.
You
Have a
could
good day,
stay
everyone.
back. You
Take
could
care.
stay back for this presentation as well, since the next presentation is also live on YouTube. And this is from Heliware. Jurors, you can evaluate the presentations showcased by GTS. In the meantime, I'll get the leaders from Heliware to showcase their slides. Hi, Rajan. I hope you are able to turn on your video.
Yeah. Hi, Gavin. Hi.
Okay, hi.
Hi,
Just a
everyone.
minute. As informed, jurors are evaluating the previous presenter. Meantime, we'll get your set ready. I'll add a spotlight to you, and you can see the timer 10 minutes.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
Okay. So you can share your screen now.
Even, sorry, Ranga, yeah, I can unscreen and drop out, right? I can watch
Yes, you
screen.
can. You can watch on YouTube.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Arjun, we can see the screen now. I would request for a full screen, and I'll add a spotlight to the timer. Just a minute. Would request you to unmute. Sorry. Yeah. You can start with the presentation now.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. Myself, Rajan. I'm the founder CEO of Heliware. So we are 4.5-year-old startup which mainly provides software development kit to various GIS and drone organizations to build their own software on the top of our engine without compromising their data security. So as I mentioned, we started Heliware back in 2018, but over the time, like as we know, the data comes from the low resolution drones and low resolution satellite varies from 1 GB to 100 GB offsite for the 3D mesh, OBJ file and point cloud. So we have built an algorithm which renders those files in such a way that one can work directly onto the browser without using any kind of high-end system, and we are able to process various kind of data sets coming from the satellite, drone, DGPS, even LiDAR as well. So in the last 4 years, we have built up various softwares as well, which is Heli Mapper for the construction, then Heli AI for the spatial data engineering, then Heli 3D, which mainly help construction companies to create their own digital tool and do cut, fill, and volume analysis. So last year, we compromised all these algorithms in a one indigenous engine form which help companies to build their own software. So let's say companies can use Heliware engine as a backend and Heli Mapper as a template. Then they will get their own software on their own server within 2 days of time. So as I mentioned, we just don't provide the analytics, we provide the data warehousing service as well. So once the data is put on a centralized cloud platform, as on date, if a construction company do a 100-kilometer of work, they have to process those data onto the various cloud, and data travels from one cloud system to another cloud system, which again takes so much time for them to do the analysis. So we put all the data on a centralized cloud, then using our templates and backend engine, one can process the data on their own cloud storage. So as we know, before 10 years, companies like Google Earth Engine and ArcGIS server has introduced their own private server system which help companies to process their data. But Google Earth Engine has a limitation on which you cannot upload the data. But an ArcGIS server cannot be afforded by the MSMEs and GIS and the small scale drones companies. So, but in the last 3-4 years, due to the various Indian government policy and GDPR policy, every company are poised to shift towards the private servers, so that their data cannot be traveled from one server to another server. As I mentioned, every kind of data has a geospatial format, but to get from A to Z, they will have to go through with the multiple API and multiple cross system to get the final result. We as a Heliware provide end-to-end SDK. It's like a WordPress from them. They simply choose the template, they choose Heliware engine, they process it, then they shift it onto their own cloud. So I don't know, our technology has already been proven into the various sectors. So we are working with the DRDO. Almost all the Indian leading construction companies have used our platform. The leading solar companies have also used our platform for SETO analysis and flood simulation purpose. Like coming to the competition mapping. So as we know, the traditional companies like Google, ESRI, and CGM does not provide capability to edit the SD. So let's say Google does not give you permission so that you can change the road network or you can do the data joining onto the road network. Based on that, you can improve your delivery system. Using Heliware, one can upload their own road network and process and do the data joining, then build their own network analysis tool for the delivery. So as you know, the GIS market is growing, 148 billion by 2028. So we based out of Heliware decided to open source our front-end system so that developers and students can build a software, and so that over the time we will become the aggregator of the technology. Heliware impact. So we are able to get around 21,000 downloads till now, and able to work with all the Indian leading companies, and all are associated with us from the last 4 years. So as I mentioned, the technology has already been proven from the solar, construction, and spatial data science sectors. Now coming to the social impact. So we already started working with the Tata Trust and Hindustan Unilever Foundation. For Hindustan Unilever Foundation, we are building a centralized agriculture platform so that platform can be used by the NGO, and they can tell farmers when to use water and when not to use. Same for the Tata Trust and Gento. So Tata Trust and Gento has gathered the 6 large village information data. So we put those data onto the map so that other companies can utilize and can identify the village. What are the villages from which we can get the right skill set, and how we can make that village more economical. For the defense, as we know, in the defense sector there is no internet connection. So currently, let's say we have provided them a network analysis tool which really work onto the slope data. So let's say if there are various soldiers who work around the Jammu Kashmir region, if there is some kind of high wind or something, they have to move from one place to another place. So we mainly extract the drainage network from the satellite data, and we tell them to the soldiers like what is the drainage network which they should follow to reach from one position to another position in a very less time. So this is the like agriculture thing which I just mentioned, which we are doing with the Hindustan Unilever Foundation. So as I have 4 minutes left, I also wanted to show you a small video about Heliware.
Rajan, we are unable to see the video.
I hope my screen is visible.
Your screen is not visible for the video. We would request for a reshare. Yeah, you can share the entire screen. Yeah.
Smarter with data-driven.
We can see the screen.
Businesses across the world are becoming smarter with data-driven decision-making to benefit their customers, and that requires them to capture data based on consumer behavior. Every industry, including retail, real estate, logistics, energy, and others, needs to analyze location data or lose a big opportunity. Using existing software leaves you confused with its complexities and inefficiencies. Introducing Heliware, an end-to-end geospatial SDK stack that helps companies to build their own geospatial and mapping stacks, starting from data warehousing to data analysis, which can be deployed on private cloud, public cloud, or hybrid model in a collaborative way. By integrating Heliware open source visualization suites like HeliMapper, HeliAI, and Heli3D, companies can build their own mapping and geospatial stack. Retail and logistics businesses can visualize where their customers are and decide their product distribution and new outlet opening strategy. Solar energy companies can do a site inspection to help clients understand power loss estimation and categorization. Earth-moving companies can do basic to advanced engineering like 3D digitization, flood simulation and cross-section to solar power estimation. Heliware is an end-to-end geospatial software development kit (SDK) for every industry under the sun that has engineering data or assets data. With Heliware, you can convert any data to geospatial format, which makes big data analysis become a plug-and-play show. Try Heliware now for your company to make decisions backed by data.
As I have 1 minute left, so I would like to explain one more slide, which I skipped last time. So as I mentioned, we as a Heliware decided to create a new category into the geospatial space. Existing competitor like ESRI, CGM, MapMyIndia, they also have the end-to-end stack. But what is Heliware differentiator is that we purely focus onto the big data analysis and big data governance. So all these companies are also as new as we are new into the big data geospatial space. And the major difference is the private cloud solution compared to the ESRI MapMyIndia is very, very costly compared to Heliware. And small companies, like there is a drone companies who have collected 10 lakh rupees, who have done the 10 lakh rupees survey, and they have collected a small portion of Gurgaon. They have to share their data with the ESRI cloud. So we as a Heliware tell them, you can have your data on your own warehouse so that you can utilize those things for your further revenue, and you can get and your client will also get the data security, which is not available when you use the Google or when you use the ESRI, even when you use the CGM. So this is our major differentiator. And again, apart from this, so what we thought, instead of providing JavaScript and Python API, let them provide the open source visualization template of Heliware, because in the last 4 years, we work with the progress monitoring company, so we have that template. We have the solar template, and we have the data science template, which we mainly give them, and they use our backend engine. Then they have their own softwares. Yes, that's it from my side. So I would like to know if any question. Something.
Oh, we open for Q&A now. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Mr. Rajan, thank you for the presentation. So, I had
Thanks.
I'm not a no geospatial expert here, but just curious. So, you are saying this is provided as an SDK, which means that you expect you expect the customers to engage with system integrators or your own services team to build the application. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So, sir, I'll tell you. So, we just provided SDK in the just like a desktop software form. So there is a template also. So let's say someone wanted to use the routing system. They install the SDK. They will have the network analysis API. They simply run that API and they can use the template. Then they will have their own logistics system and they can further deploy this thing on their own private cloud. That's how it works, mainly, sir.
Okay. And since this session is all about AI and other things, so I think there's a lot going on in your entire stack and platforms. So I'm assuming you're from a tech team, or so would you be able to tell where are all what are the areas where AI and other related techniques are used? And
sir, in that we mainly use the like, I'm the founder of, I know everything like what kind of technical thing we have. So in that we have mainly used the AI part is used for the shadow analysis and solar power estimation.
Can you repeat that, please? It is used for what?
Solar power calculation and shadow analysis in that area, the rooftop solar power estimation, and in that particular area. In this, we will use the various kind of weather data, building data, and accumulate the power estimation, tentative power estimation for that particular thing.
Okay, thank you.
Rajan, is there any IPR development that has resulted from this work? patents?
Sir, we are in the last. We have already applied patent for the creation of 3D dynamic 3D terrain using the satellite data 3 months back. So it is in the final stage of closing. So the process has already been completed from our side.
So what is the impact of your particular work in terms of creating new capabilities, in terms of improving on existing capabilities? Can you give us a sense of that?
Yeah, sure, sir. So I'll tell you. So most of the leaders who are into the geospatial space, so let's say Google have also built the 3D terrain for the entire world. Me being a construction companies cannot use their data for the pre-bid kind of calculation or something like that. So we as a Heliware build a tool through which you can get the terrain data in such a way that on which you can do the calculations. You can do the flooding, you can do the cut fill analysis and all. So a drone companies can build their own logistics system using our data, which is not possible using the terrain data. A construction companies can do their bid planning using our terrain data. So that's how it works, sir, in this.
Okay, one more question I'll ask. Are you having any plans to launch your own products based on your own API stack?
Yes, sir. Earlier first we have launched a product only. So earlier we launched Heli Mapper for the construction, Heli 3D for the solar, and Heli AI for the spatial data science. But last year what we did, as we combined our backend and open source the front end thing. So Heli Mapper, like a company can use Heliware engine and Heli Mapper, then they will have their own visualization platform. Why we build it? Because we get a chance to do a POC into the DRDO for the 3D terrain itself. So they have one criteria that engine should not have any third party internet connection due to the data security. So that's where we realized in India, because the kind of geospatial data companies collect, it has a certain cost. So if I got 100 kilometers of data, that is a 10 lakh rupees data, which I do not want us to host on another server. So this is the sector which we thought we can be a differentiator compared to Google and DSRI mainly.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Hi Rajan, I have a question. You mentioned about your clientele, including Maruti Suzuki, L&T, and the Ministry of Defense. Are these engagement, like are these client on a regular basis? You have they've been subscribed to your product or a designing product, or is it on a pilot basis?
Yes, sir. So for the construction system, mainly with the Kalpatru and L&T, we are engaged from the last 4 years. So first they use this platform for the progress monitoring. Then they again shifted to the 3D analysis. Right now, they have shifted to the BIM-based advanced progress monitoring. So that's how it works for the construction sector. For the Maruti, we have given them for the flood management for the plant. Then in the second phase, we have given them the indoor mapping. Currently, we have given them the rooftop inspection. So one technology has a multiple layers. So it mainly works. Once we get the confidence, we can engage with them for the long term. And you know that these clients require only private server solution because their data is very, very crucial.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm exploring other questions.
Sure.
Jurors, do we have any questions further?
Nothing from my side.
Rajan, I believe that's your time with the jurors. I don't see any questions. I'm just exploring for the last time or minute.
Sure.
So give us a bit of a background, given that there is no other technical question. How long you have been doing this?
Sir, I
about your journey, maybe, if you want to.
Sir, I completed my BTech back in 2014 in Geoinformatics from Petroleum College, Dehradun. Then from 14 to 18, I ran a drone-based service and training companies and organized various workshops into the college. That time I realized that people are not able to see the drone 3D model. That time the file size was around 100 MB or 200 MB. There was no tiling system through which. So that is the main problem how Heliware has started. So we thought once we give this capability, one can see the 3D model, 10 GB, 20 GB, 50 GB files, then they can do the analysis because every company cannot buy 64 GB RAM system. Again, so the third part is the server. So they don't want, a solar company don't want their entire size to be hosted onto someone else's storage system so that their company have the access of the data. So that's the third phase in which we introduce the private server. So all the data will get placed so that they can work work without using any 64 GB RAM or any third-party software.
So tell me one thing, where are you getting your raw images from? So if I give you a particular polygon, maybe a very small specific polygon in some city in India or some rural area, would you already have the images, or you will be procuring those images?
We have created a 3D terrain for the entire area. So that 3D terrain is mainly based on the open source satellite data which is available. That is the first part. Apart from that, if a company wants
Open source, which one you are using? Which is the source?
Lancet and SRTM data.
Lancet data. Okay.
So that is the thing. Now, if a company wanted to upload their own drone imagery or satellite imagery, they simply have to upload it. Else, they can use our terrain data for the planning and analysis purpose.
Okay. So there's already something available in the open domain that you are using for 3D modeling. So on your website, do you provide some sort of thing like that I can give a polygon? Say if I come to your website, I give a polygon and I can see a 3D model on the fly, is some sort of capability, because I'm thinking more from the business perspective that can help you get more clients. They can get a feel of it immediately.
It is in the developing stage. As on date, we mainly provide the terrain data. So let's say someone click onto the polygon, we provide the terrain data, then they will have to put it onto the software, then it will become 3D. So what happened? The 100 GB file gets converted into the KBs of PNG. That's how we are able to render it onto the browsers.
Yes. Because your competition is also big, right? Like people like Google and.
But that is our USP, because Google don't provide private server solution. If Google goes to L&T, they said we charge 5 crore rupees one-time fees for the private server. And there is a fixed cost. Once Heliware goes there, we say that we have that same technology. You can have your own server, and there will not be any data compromise, because Google use this data for the routing and other purpose. So companies also do have the feeling.
Sure. Thank you. It's very helpful. Quite nice.
Rajan, are you seeing any interest from people who use drones? Or
I already partnered with some of the leading drone companies, actually. So the drone companies are going to become my client, the long-term client, drones and GIS companies, because they cannot have the ESRI private server, but their client required. So we only partner with them. Okay, you use our software for the visualization and analysis purpose, and you pay us 30% to 40% per software sale whenever you sell it.
Okay. Great. I think great technology and promising.
We also started tying up with the engineering college. So we tie up with the 3 engineering college, computer science. Students are already using our API to build a software. Civil engineers also use our platform for how companies are using it for the progress monitoring and drone-based data analysis. So we are trying to create an ecosystem also around Heliware.
Okay.
Wonderful work, Ranjan.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thanks,
Keep it up.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Ranjan.
Thanks.
Jurors will take a 5 minutes break. We'll join at 12. We would have the next presenters, which are from the large company.